Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back once again to the channel for another and my final F1 22 video. And yeah, we have finally done it. We have got to the end of the season of this PSGL E-Series highlights package that I've been uploading to the channel. I know probably very few believed that I would get through the whole of the series and upload every single race, but we are here. We have done it. Combining Singapore and Bahrain into this one, simply because we had a bit of a nightmare with the stream in Singapore. So yeah, it makes sense for me to combine it. Plus, F1 23 is now released, so yeah, I'm not going to waste any more time with F1 22 videos heading into the new game. Just looking forward to closing off this series in a nice way and working on some F1 23 content for you guys now. So yeah, really looking forward to that. The streams will be happening once again over on my Twitch channel, so feel free to follow that if you haven't already. Sharnaka Clay over on there. But also stay tuned to the likes of the YouTube channel, of course, and my Twitter for more updates on future content coming up. All the links in the description for those necessary channels. But without plugging myself too much, we are having a massive slide through the final sector of Singapore here on my first lap of Q1, heading around the last corner here. Just wondering if we can get through.
I'm absolutely not cooked on that lap.
If we can get through on that first set of tyres, and it's not a great lap. So we are going to have to go again in Q1, which is never ideal. Just compromising ourselves through the rest of the session. But Singapore is just, such a complex track. One that I really don't enjoy driving, to be honest. But it's one of the most, pleasurable to get right when you do hook it up. I liken it very much to Monaco, obviously another street circuit. If you can hook up a really nice lap around those tracks, it is so satisfying. But it is so critical that you nail each and every apex, because if you don't, you'll do exactly that and brush up against the wall there, and do that too many times, you'll pick up some damage, or you'll just quite frankly end your session or end your race in an instant, as we take a huge slide there through the exit of what used to be the Singapore Sling. And we are not improving on our lap. We're down to P9 as we head through the midpoint of this second and final lap in Q1. So we have a bit of work to do heading into the last sector if we are going to guarantee our place through to the second part of qualifying, something we're not really used to saying through this PSGL E-Series. We've made it to Q3 each and every time. We don't want to make it, we don't want to mark that streak by making an early exit here. We're down to P11, and there's plenty more cars to cross the line, so we do need to make this lap count. 2 and a bit tenths up here heading into the last corner. Just take it nice and safely over the curb. We do gain a nice bit of time up to the line. We go provisional P3, and despite that messy start to the lap, we make it through there in P3. Leonard Goetze, I've absolutely probably butchered that there, but yeah, he goes to the top of the leaderboards very quick around Singapore. I believe he had the world record at the time, so yeah, he's the local expert.
Why, man?
But yeah, once again, not happy with our first lap in Q2. So once again, we are having to go for another lap on another fresh set of tyres, which means if we do progress through to Q3, we are only going to have one set of fresh tyres, which is, not ideal, especially in a track like this. You want to have as many goes as possible, but we're just going to have the one, and that's only if we make it through. We are in provisional P7 at the moment, with everyone around us yet to complete their second laps. So yeah, we really do need to make this count, but it's, as I continue to say, it's so difficult, and we're just finding a tiny little bit of time here and there. A few hundredths up turns into just under a tenth as we head towards the old Singapore Sling. Do we get a loss at the back end this time? No, we do not. A little bit wide on the exit though, losing a bit of time, not able to get onto the throttle. And a little bit too early onto the brakes into the hairpin, so that's compromised our exit here. Just 300ths up as we head towards the start of the Sector 3 split. And yeah, it's If others hook up their lap, we are in a little bit of danger here. We're currently P8 and 9 as a team, and yeah, plenty of top drivers behind us yet to complete their laps. Qualifying is now up. Our time is up to complete any more laps after this, so this is going to have to count heading into the last couple of corners here. Just picking up a bit of time heading into the green. Round the last corner we go, improving by half a tenth. Is it going to be enough? We go provisionally P6, and we say immediately there,
I think I might be out.
we thought we were out, and as we progress to the end of that session, are we in or are we out? We are just about in to Q3. A bit of a scare once again, as in Canada. Alvaro sneaks through in P9. Didn't take any risks on that lap, but yeah, we just set a banker into Q3 of 36.1. And I think a good time round here was, I believe, into the high 34s. I can't remember exactly what we were doing at the time, but that is basically the aim, or as low into the 35s as you could possibly get. But yeah, heading through this first sector, gaining about a tenth and a half on our previous best. It's not been a great first sector, as you'll see from the top right. We set a high 0.5. I believe a good first sector is into the 0.4s, maybe even low 0.4s. So yeah, we haven't hooked that up in a brilliant way, but there's still a long rest of the lap to go, so there's plenty of time to make or break this lap. Heading through the old Singapore sling here, a little bit wide through the mid part of the corner, but bringing it over nicely, trying to get early on the power. And yeah, have a little bit of a dilemma now, trying to push on, but we are also conscious that this is our one chance in this session to try and get up towards the sharp end here. Going green through the second sector, no purples unfortunately, and we're just half a second up with one sector to go, and yeah, we have another half a second or so to find to be on for a decent-ish lap. I think we were consistently in the zeros, if not the 0.9s, maybe even a 0.8. I can't remember what our PB was heading into this one, but we are just under a second up heading through the last corner here. Actually losing a little bit of time, taking a bit safe, and we set a 35.1, and we are just, yeah, not very happy. Skipping on to the end of the session, we are starting P5 for the Grand Prix with our teammates sitting P3. So that's a good team result. Can be happy with that, but yeah, just didn't extract the maximum from that lap. But it's so difficult around Singapore, as I mentioned. But yeah, as I was saying earlier, guys, as we see, there's a bit of weather heading into the last part of this race. But I had an absolute nightmare with the stream. Unfortunately, I left my stream on intermission, so we are going to have to watch the first part of this race from the replay cameras. But it's 5 lights out, and away we go for the Singapore Grand Prix. And don't worry, guys, for the second part of this race, we do get the actual point of view back, but I guess fortunately in a way, for the first 60-70% of this race, literally nothing happened. And when I say that, literally nothing around us happened. We settled our way into P5, and I guess that's quite natural, given the model we've been playing on. It's very, very common to be sat in a DRS train around a street circuit. It's very difficult to overtake. So yeah, we were literally just sat in P5 for a lot of this race, as I said, for the vast majority. So yeah, we're just trying to close onto the back here of those slots as we get a bit of a snap, so we don't want to be doing too much of that throughout the rest of this race, because yeah, too many little back end losses might just end us in a wall in this track, and I don't really fancy that today. But a little bit wide of the apex there, heading into sector 3. But yeah, guys, as I was saying, it was a bit of an uneventful start to the Grand Prix, as Otis Lawrence brushes the wall there. I think fortunately enough for him, he gets away without any damage. But yeah, just settling in now for a long stint, as we are in theory going to try and drive these hard tyres all the way to those last 2 blocks of rain, because in general the weather does like to come a little bit early on the F1 game sometimes. So as you'll be able to see now, we skip all the way on to lap 19 from lap 2. Yeah, a bit mental, but literally we are still in P5, The only notable thing that happened around us was Leonard Goetze got past Ben Sabikonyi, but they were a couple of seconds back off the back of us. But now we're having to stack behind our teammate Alvaro Caraton, and that is going to cost us quite a bit of time and positions in the pits, as Luke Smith and Leonard do indeed jump us. And in that period of having to watch the replay cameras, we did unfortunately pick up a 3-second time penalty. So yeah, that's not ideal heading into the second half of this race, or the final third, I should say, at this point. So we are going to have to try and do our best to try and extend the gap to the cars behind, but we are now out into a net P7, so a couple of places lost unfortunately in that pit stop window, but yeah, not a lot we could have done. Maybe could have backed off heading into the pits a little bit. I'm not sure if that would have helped. I still think we would have caught the back of that stack with the pit crew there. So yeah, not really sure what I could have done differently there. We definitely couldn't have stayed out looking at the track, especially with how long the lap is. Had it been Austria, maybe I would have considered it, but yeah, certainly not round a track like here.
And then you've got Leroy 2.5 behind him.
So yeah, just trying to get used to the conditions now. We had obviously a great race out in Zandvoort the last time it was wet, winning and dominating that race. So hopefully, looking into the final part of this race, we can have some very good pace and try and pull that gap behind us and at least consolidate the position we're in, if not try and march forward. But it's going to be difficult to A, overtake in a street circuit that's wet, and B, extend the gap to such quality drivers around us. But we're going to do our best, that's for sure. But yeah, a little bit of a twist coming into the last part of this race, so stay tuned for that, guys. It does get a little bit more exciting, that's for sure. But now, finishing the end of lap 20, the gap is 1.5 to the back of Luke Smith, and skipping a few laps later now, we have been able to extend that gap now to the likes of Max Wissel, who also picks up a 3-second time penalty. So if that penalty is legit, we are now safe in P7, and now we have taken another half a second out of Luke Smith here, and another half a second to Max Wissel. So the pace is looking good to the cars around us. As our engineer says, over the next 10 to 15 minutes, the rain should be getting lighter. So it looks like these should be kind of the worst conditions. But as we skip on a couple of laps later, we are in very much full wet conditions here. As we ask our engineers, whether it was worth pitting for wets. We are just going to stick it out to the end, even though we are currently lapping, severely slowly. There's absolutely no grip. There's aquaplaning going on these inter tyres. And yeah, our engineer is encouraging us to, our in-game engineer is encouraging us to come in. But yeah, you can never trust the engineer sometimes. It may be right for wets now, but we've had information earlier that it's gonna start drying towards the end of this race, or at least not increasing severity in terms of rain. But the top guys are starting to battle here under the bridge. What's gonna happen? I think they're going side by side, and I think Istvan and Thomas Ronhaar come together.
Thomas got damage,
and it's resulted in Thomas Ronhaar picking up severe wing damage here. So the resurgent Haas Esports team have hit a stumbling block here, and the man who was likely to win this race in the form of Thomas Ronhaar is now going to start falling down the order with his teammate several tens of seconds off the back of us. It looks like Haas's chances for this championship are starting to slip away, as the young Dutchman is forced out there by Luke Smith with the damaged front wing. And we're going to try and make this move stick round the outside, as we get a little bit of a touch on the inside there from Thomas Ronhaar, probably just locked up on that broken front wing.
What's the gap to Bentz?
Gap to Bentz
is just checking the gap behind now to the closest non-penalty runner that isn't Thomas, as we imagine that we should be able to pull away from him. as we have done so on to lap 30 now.
Matthias is coming
Just
from on the west.
2 laps to go now, and we received news there
He's
from our
about
engineer
6-7
Will
seconds off
Lewis
us.
that Matthias van Erven, the second driver for Haas, is now
Yeah,
coming through on the wet tyres. 67
His pace
seconds
looks
behind
ridiculous,
at the
I
start of
think,
this lap. He is now 2/10 behind us after 2 sectors. So his pace is absolutely unreal on these tyres. And he is now going to have very little to stop him winning this race now. Moving past us, as I'm about to say here.
It's like driving against 0% AI.
Like 0% AI. It is so easy for him on these tyres. And he's made an inspired call here to go onto those full wet tyres. And it is going to earn him a race win here. As you can see on the minimap, he has absolutely flown past the field. And we are still in this net P7. And as we can see up in front, there is a little bit of drama going on. 3 cars in the wall.
Yep, Otis damaged, no front
And
wing.
we are...
You good?
Fortunately, just far enough back so we could adjust our line and avoid it. Unfortunately, our teammate was collected in that, and he has dropped from a potential P2 down out of the top 6 on the track. Otis Lawrence is within our penalty window, but he does have front wing damage, so we're going to be trying to do our best to try and pull that gap out now to the line. We need to pull 3 seconds in just a couple of corners. The gap is currently 2.2. Can we do this now? Just 2 more corners to go. Here we go, round the corner, trying to get as close up and personal to Leonard as we can over the line. Do we do it? Yes, we do. Clearing Otis Lawrence there by just over 1/10 of a second. Alvaro sneaks back within our penalty window there, and we finished that race off P4 and 5. But crucially for the championship, Haas recover with that P1 finish for Matthias. And yeah, he has absolutely saved Haas's chances in this championship. They may be over 100 points down, but yeah, that win has given them slight hope still heading into the last couple of rounds of this championship. But in another light, myself and Alvaro do jump up a position as Luke Smith was given a 5-second penalty for cutting the pit lane entry line, I believe. So we gain a few more points there as well, crucially. But yeah, heading straight into Bahrain now, guys. I'm sure we all have people to see and places to be, so we're going to rattle through this one as well and get our last race of the season wrapped up here. We do have Kota after this one, but spoiler alert, I did not compete in that race, so this will be my final highlight of the season. But the aim is now to try and secure this championship. It is possible with the points lead we have from Singapore that we can secure it with a good result here against the likes of Parnell and Haas. So that is our aim. A nice consistent result that we've been picking up thus far recently. Lots of P3s and 4s and 5s, and crucially scoring big with both cars recently, and that has allowed us to extend and stretch our legs into the second half of the season away from our competition. And though Matthias did save Haas's chances, unfortunately for them, with Ronhard getting some damage, their chances of the title are starting to slip away, so they do need a big round here. But getting back to the action, we are now 2/3 of the way through our first Q1 lap. It's been a little bit messy, to be truthful, but we're going to look to finish this one out the best we can through the last corner here, spotting our braking point, clipping the apex on the inside and running out all over this curb to try and get the power on as early as possible across the line here. We set a 27.5, and that is enough to happily retire into the pits as our teammate goes to the top of the session. So good early signs here, and we are now straight into a fresh tyre run now in Q2. I believe our banker was a 28.1 if I'm not mistaken, so you can compare the delta to that. A bit deep onto the brakes, but trying to hook up the traction nonetheless through turn 2, despite that suboptimal line. heading through to turn 4 now, spotting the 100-meter board as your braking point. A little bit wide of the apex once again, and heading through the first sector split here. It is a 28.210, so not great. Probably should be hitting the point ones by now. But now into turn 8, yet again wide of the apex, but trying to hook up the traction decently well. But this is a critical corner for the track now. Turn 10, try not to lock your inside front, which we don't, and we do that very nicely actually. Very good exit. Now heading through to turn 11, so hopefully it's been a little bit of a scrappy first half of the lap, but with that turn 10 we've set ourselves up pretty nicely here to do a nice second half of the lap, and hopefully we can do a good enough job heading into the last sector here as we go purple through the middle sector to get away through to Q3 without another set of tyres. That is the aim, as our teammate goes to the top with a 27.2, rounding the last corner here, trying to take as much speed as possible, starting to send the car a little bit more. We know we need to try and improve, and we cross the line just under a second up. Is a 27.172, okay. And that is more than safe. We go P1 in the session in the end, and we are both through once again to Q3. So yeah, heading straight into it once again, onto a fresh set of tyres. We've been managing to get through this session a little bit easier than we did in Singapore. So we have a couple of fresh sets now to go in Q3. So we are going to try and make use of them best we can with the multiple chances we have now. Heading through to the end of Sector 1 through Turn 4, hooking up that apex a little bit nicer than we did in Q2. But we're still deep in Turn 1 as well, so definitely a bit of time to unlock still. Doing a 28.0 through that first sector, so not bad. Nothing inspirational, but doing the sort of minimum that we'd expect. Unfortunately pick up a little bit of a slide there through Turn 8. But once again trying to get a nice rotation through Turn 10. Didn't look quite as good as our Q2 attempt, but still pretty solid. So we'll try and close out the lap best we can here in Q3 and give ourselves a good benchmark and a good chance to be fighting up the top into the start of the race, as this will be setting our grid position now. 105.5
it's not been a good
for
lap,
our second sector split, so it's not been a great middle sector.
Started well.
Unfortunately, going to try and nail this last corner, which we don't entirely.
Middle sector is so bad.
But heading up to the line now with the DRS open, what are we going to set? It is a 27.0, provisional P1. Heading into the last set of runs now. We are still provisional P1, but we know that we're going to have to improve quite a bit to try and secure this pole position here. The likes of, well, many people have been setting 0.6s and 0.7s, including ourselves, heading into this one. So going to try and get as close as that as we can. But heading through now the first sector, we are basically matching our previous first sector, just a couple of thousandths down. So we have quite a bit of pace left in the tank in the second sector and the third sector as well. Didn't quite get a good rotation through turn 13 and 14. So yeah, there's quite a bit of time to gain here on our lap, rotating through turn 10, losing a little bit of time on the exit, which is a little bit, yeah, suboptimal, but we are still 70 thousandths up. So it's looking good to set a decent lap time here, probably heading into the 26.8s if we can hook the rest of this lap up nicely. Heading through the flat turn 12, getting a bit of time where we got stuck on the curb last time, turning in here to turn 13.
No,
and we completely
no fucking way,
lose
man.
the back end, and that is our lap over here in Q3. As you can see, we end up P6, and I think if we would have finished that lap out, we would have been a minimum of P2, if not taking our first pole position of the season.
0.8 is
but unfortunately, we are going to go without a pole position this season. But we are now looking forward to the lights, and it's lights out and away we go here in Bahrain, and trying to draw up alongside Luke Smith, getting a little bit of wheel spin in the second phase of the start, and we are going to be looking backwards rather than forwards really into this first corner. It's Van Pookie making his way around our outside, and we are down into P7 now. Luke Smith being forced out wide as they went 3 abreast through turn 2 there, which is never going to work. They're still going 3 wide here into turn 4. Who's going to blink first? Luke Smith being nice and committed on the brakes. We're going to go for the switchback line here, and we're going to draw up alongside Tomek Paragis. Absolutely butchered that, but we're going to be on the inside of turn 5 here. And unfortunately, we get spun round, but I'm going to put my hands up there and take responsibility for that one. We weren't completely to the inside, a little bit of a gap to the apex, and we unfortunately understeered into his path. But we are now trying to recover. Fortunately, we were able to recover quite quickly onto the back of this pack, and we've now made a couple of positions back on the likes of Nadi Perez and Harlan Marquis. So yeah, we are now onto the back of Matthias van Erven, the winner of the previous Grand Prix, with his teammate just a couple of positions up the road. He's trying to do a last to first, I believe, even though his team is not out of the championship fight.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, bit of a weird one, but you know, each to their own. But we are now battling away with Matthias van Erven here, heading into turn 11. Going to try and do the under and over on him, and try and set him up here for a little bit of a dive, same as we did on Nadi Perez. Try and compromise him here, and now we're going to dive down the inside, make that nice and committed, head at the apex. Unfortunately, picking up a little bit of side-to-side contact there, and he is able to draw back alongside us. So he wants to have a fight. We're going to give him a fight here into the last couple of corners. Going to go a little bit deep onto the brakes, forcing him out. Didn't really mean to go that deep, but he manages
What is he
to
doing?
keep the position off the track, and he's already
This is
out
pathetic,
of battery by the end of lap 2. So I'm not sure what the race strategy is here for Matthias, but he's determined to keep us behind, and we are having absolutely none of it. Late on the brakes into turn 1, and we get that move done. And unfortunately for him, he manages to spin on the
I'm
outside
surprised.
curb and retires in the pits.
Okay.
As Elena Goetze, one of the stars from Singapore, very kindly spins out of our way in dramatic fashion there. So we're up to P15, onto the back now of the SRT man, lefted here. He's absolutely out of battery, so we're going to make light work of him, and he knows we are not his fight at the moment, so we're going to make that move stick down the inside of turn 1, up into P14. Alexander Kraft next up on our list, I should say. Setting the fastest lap of the race, but we are very, very low on the battery here. So we're spending the next couple of laps trying to regenerate that. And now we are on to the second of the SRT cars, Louis Welch. Once again, out of battery here. And as his teammate did, he is not going to defend. He's going to play a smart game and let us go. We have the superior pace at the moment, and we make that move nice and easily. But yeah, skipping quite a bit on into this race. Tomek boxes, as does Louis, onto the soft tyres here. So it's a bit of a split strategy. Some people pitting a bit earlier onto the medium tyres. As you can see, Otis Lawrence and Luke Smith onto the mediums. But we are going to extend here, as we essentially have nothing to lose. We are very much fighting in the midfield around the P11, P12 mark at the moment. So yeah, we're going to go as long as we can, put on the soft tyres and see as much progress we can make into the last few laps of this race. But as you can see, Tomek Paragis has retired from the session.
Oh my God.
And a safety car has been deployed and has essentially saved our race. As you can see, we come out now in a net P6. Dylan Warren, who went along with us, is now leading the race on fresh new soft tyres, and he is going to be absolutely loving life at the front here on those fresh tyres, because he now has 4 cars on slightly warm mediums between us, and it's going to be pretty hard for us to make up progress, because these soft tyres, even though they will be quick at the moment, they will not be very useful after a couple of laps. So we have to try and make progress whilst they are in our favour here. Trying to dive down the inside of Alfie Butcher. No move made there. And yeah, we're trying to make as quick progress as we can, but it's really, really difficult off the safety car restarts, as everyone's fully charged with the ERS and ready to deploy it as a defense, let alone us trying to deploy it as an attack. But we get a good line there through turn 8, and we are going to go on the attack here into turn 10. We're going to back off a little bit so we can make that dive down the inside of Alfie Butcher. and we do make
What the hell? He's
contact,
completely
side-to-side
turned in on
contact with
me.
him, as we say there. Just a little, felt we
Go on.
were a bit turned in on there. Our teammate is very kindly gonna let us go here with just a couple of laps left, but it just wasn't enough. By the time we reached these guys,
Stay close and I'll
we
let you go in
had
the
run
line.
out of battery, we'd run out of tyres, and
Same.
yeah, we offered the place back to Alvaro, but he's happy to sit back and bring this home as a team. So yeah, big shout out to him there. Not really worried about which order we come home in. As we've said, this is a team's championship, and it doesn't matter in which order we come home in essence. Thomas Ronhar now closing onto the back of him on those soft tyres as well, but same as us, he's not able to make much more progress into the last part of this Grand Prix. We are going to finish this race here, P4 on the road, but we are now PSGL E-Series champions with this result, with
I think we are champion.
Parnell struggling
Yep.
in the midfield,
Good.
and Haas
Yep.
with
good
one
job.
of their cars retiring and the other behind us. We are champions
GGs.
today with
Good job,
one
yeah,
round
the-
to
the
spare,
medium, I think we
finishing
extended
P4 and
by
5 on the
a
road,
huge amount as
and
well.
yeah, such a great feeling to sort of get this one across the
Nice.
line, especially off the back of a
Sounds like you're
disappointing
happy.
F1 Esports campaign. But as you can see by the full race results here, we jump up to the podium. Luke Smith was given a penalty for whichever reason, and the RHG cars, all of them, were disqualified once again for collusion, as they were in France. So yeah, unfortunate for them. Unfortunate it could end that ended that way. But we are champions nonetheless. You know, whether that would have happened or not. And a nice little graphic here made by the PSGL guys. So yeah, that's nice to see. Nice little certifying gift, I guess, by them. So yeah, great job by Alvaro and Will throughout the season, and our engineers as well as Brett, running the show in the background. So big thanks to them. Couldn't have done it without them. But yeah, that's it for F1 22, guys. I hope you very much enjoyed this series, and until next time on the new game, take care and peace out.